The form of the work is how the artwork is. Let's look at some aspects of art that Dr. Sandel has identified as what makes up the form of the work. In the early 20th century, artists and teachers at a German art school known as the Bauhaus identified and standardized for the sake of teaching certain elements that they felt were common to our experience of visual phenomena. These are called the formal elements. These formal elements then have to be put together to interact in some way for our brains to make sense out of the arrangement. In art, we want the arrangement to communicate some meaning. This intentional arrangement is called design or composition. Again, the Bauhaus artists created the principles of design so that they could talk about design concepts. The formal elements and the principles of design have been the foundations for art education in the West ever since. There is some controversy surrounding these foundational concepts, however. Some contemporary art theorists feel that these concepts are outdated and that most contemporary art cannot be understood if we use these concepts when talking about it. These theorists believe that we need new foundational categories. However, if we remember that we are going to include theme and context in our analysis of art, then I think these concepts will give us a common vocabulary to use and some historical reference to the way art educators have taught about art. Now, as controversies go, I know that doesn't stand up to who killed Kennedy or whether Bigfoot actually exists. We'll have to see if these concepts remain useful or not as we look at some art. There are other elements that make up a work of art as well. Like anything physical, art exists in space. It can be flat like a photograph or a painting, or it can be three-dimensional like a sculpture or an installation. However, sometimes there can be a component of time to an artwork. Dershing Say did a performance piece where he lived in a cage in his studio for an entire year. No TV, no iPods, no newspapers, nothing. A friend brought him food each day. Imagine facing nothing but your own existence for an entire year. What would you think about? What would you learn? How would you change? That's what Say wanted to find out. The media is what the art is made of. There are traditional media, like paint and clay and marble, but many contemporary artists use anything and everything to make art. Some artists are master craftspeople and make exquisite finished products. Other times, artists purposefully make art that looks rough or naive. Sometimes the process is the art, and there is no physical product at the end. Often we are impressed by images we can recognize and amazed at the skill of artists who can render images of life so well. Leonardo's Mona Lisa is often seen as the epitome of artistic skill. However, sometimes people who have no artistic training make powerful art. The artwork on the right was made by Ken Dwyer, who was incarcerated in prison. The only material he had to work with was toilet paper. Using this common material, Dwyer was able to create a very expressive artwork. As humans, we like to categorize things. Art can be categorized according to the way it looks or the ideas behind it. You've probably heard the terms cubism or pop art. These categories are usually provided by art critics or historians rather than artists, but they can be a useful guide in helping us understand art. We're going to now look at three artworks: The Death of Socrates by Jacques-Louis David from 1787, Composition with Red, Yellow, Blue, and Black, painted in 1921 by Pete Mondrian, and a video work, Through the Night Softly, made by Chris Burden in 1973. Using the categories of form, theme, and context in our analysis, hopefully we'll arrive at a deeper understanding of these artworks, and we'll see how form, theme, and context can be a powerful tool in our search for meaning in art. Recalling the criteria that Dr. Sandel set out for us when it comes to the artwork's form, it is easy to see how David manipulates the aspects of two-dimensional composition to create visual drama in this painting. His use of light and color draws us to the main character, Socrates. The rendering of the figures clearly show the emotion of the moment. His skill in using oil paint to create a window on this scene for us is unsurpassed. This is a rather large work, so the scale of it is also impressive. Clearly, David is a master at manipulating the formal elements and the principles of design in this painting. Mondrian's painting also manipulates these formal elements and principles of design, but to different ends. Clearly, he has no interest in representing reality in a traditional sense. But Mondrian is trying to use the ideas of color, balance, unity, and variety to evoke meaning through the use of abstraction. Let's watch Chris Burden's video and hear about it in his own words.
Radco presents Good Vibrations, 22 original hits with the Hollies.
The TV ad piece came out of a long-standing desire to be on television. The more I thought about it, the simplest way seemed to be to purchase a commercial advertising slot. Acting on that, I pulled out the yellow pages and started calling up TV stations to get their rates. I could only afford to purchase a 10-second spot ID. My biggest problem was convincing the station that I was worth bothering with, that I was a legitimate artist. They knew I was a small client, and I knew it too. What you've been watching is the advertisement that actually precedes mine. Well, that was it. You saw how short it was. But to me, the content wasn't so important. It was the idea of being on real TV, which to me means anything you can flip to on a dial. Anything else, cable, educational, video, that's not real TV. I didn't have any illusions that people understood this, that they said, oh, there's Chris Burden and he's doing a performance. But I know it stuck out like a sore thumb, and that I had the satisfaction of knowing that 250,000 people saw it every night, and that it was disturbing to them, that they knew something was amiss. And the ad came on, my ad came on 5 times a week for 4 weeks, right after the 11 o'clock news.
How the form of this artwork carries meanings is perhaps more elusive. There are some formal and design elements, the light and the movement for example, but they seem like secondary considerations in this work. If we focus on these things, maybe it will actually mislead us in our quest for extracting meaning from this work. Perhaps we need to look elsewhere.